Never thought I'd be the guy fighting for his family's legacy with nothing but a rolling pin and a stack of yellowed receipts, but here we are. Picture this, it's a crisp October morning in Whisper Bay, Maine, the kind where the fog rolls off the Atlantic like a ghost army, thick and salty, clinging to your skin. I'm in the back of Seaside Sourdough, the bakery my folks built in 1952, elbow deep in a 50-pound batch of leaven. The air's heavy with that yeasty tang, warm, alive, like the ocean after a storm. My hands ache from the knead, flour dusting my forearms like fresh snow, and the old wooden paddle creaks under the dough's weight. Out front, the bell over the door jingles every few minutes, regulars shuffling in for their morning loaf, the scent of baking rye pulling them like a siren's call. My daughter, Lila, 16 and all firecracker energy, is up front slinging cinnamon twists, her laughter cutting through the hum of the ancient Hobart mixer. That's when the sirens wail. Not the gentle hoop of a fire truck down at the docks, no, this is full on, lights flashing, heart-pounding chaos. 2 squad cars screech to a halt outside, gravel crunching like bones under tires, and out pile 3 cops, boots thumping on the warped pine porch. Behind them, striding like she owns the tide itself, is Evelyn Hargrove. Mid-50s, bottle blonde bob sharp as a gull's beak, pearls the size of quail eggs around her neck, and a clipboard clutched like Excalibur. She's wearing one of those pastel twin sets that scream old money, even though everyone knows she married into it from some Boston trust fund boy who drank himself under the table years ago. Her lips curl into that smile, not warm, not welcoming, but the kind that says, "I've already won." "Officers," she trills, voice slicing through the fog like a foghorn. "This establishment is a public hazard. I've called it in myself: structural collapse imminent, unlicensed renovations, and God knows what vermin breeding in those walls." The cops look half asleep, nursing coffees from my shop, but duty's duty. One of them, old Pete from the night shift, tips his hat awkwardly. "Sorry, Finn. We gotta check it out. I'm Finn Harlow, by the way. Baker, Dad, stubborn son of this salty spit of land." And as I wipe flour from my brow, staring at Evelyn's smug face through the screen door, the words just tumble out. What would you do if some busybody showed up with the law on a leash, trying to shut down the heart of your town over a grudge? Would you roll over, or grab your apron and fight? Hit the comments, tell me your nightmare run-in with a clipboard tyrant. Where you watching from? Got a small town saga? Spill it. But first, let me take you back to where this salted caramel of a story started, because every good brawl needs a reason worth swinging for. My folks, Tom and Rosie Harlow, planted Seaside Sourdough roots deep in Whisper Bay back when the village was just a cluster of lobster shacks and widows' walks, the air thick with pine tar and low-tide rot. Dad was a lobsterman who lost his boat to a nor'easter in '51, came home reeking of brine and diesel, hands scarred from boys and traps, and said, "Enough sea for me. Time to make something that rises instead of sinks." Mom, with her flour-dusted apron and laugh like breaking waves, turned their garage into the bakery. They baked through hurricanes and hard winters, feeding fishermen, summer folk, even the lighthouse keeper up on Devil's Head. By the time they passed Dad to a heart attack in '98, Mom to the quiet fate of Alzheimer's in 2012, it was mine. Not just the brick and mortar on Wharf Street, squat and weathered like a sea captain's chin, with its blue-shuttered windows overlooking the bay where seals bark at dawn. It was the legacy. The starter jar in the fridge, bubbling with wild yeast from 100 Octobers ago. The recipe book, grease-spotted and dog-eared, holding secrets like Mom's rye that could make a grown man weep. I grew up in the flour clouds of that kitchen, dodging the swing of Dad's peel, learning to fold dough like folding a letter to a sweetheart, gentle, with intent. 20 years hauling traps with him toughened me, calluses like barnacles, a back that protests rainy days, and a quiet grit that says, storms pass. After the folks went, I kept it going solo, baking at 4 a.m., slinging loaves by 6, scraping by on tourist tips and local loyalty. Then Lila came along. Ex-wife bailed when the pregnancy test turned pink, left me with a newborn and a diaper bag full of regrets. That was 9 years back. Now Lila's my right hand, all freckles and braids, with mom's eyes and a knack for glazing that could charm the tide. Seaside isn't just dough and ovens, it's our anchor. Lose it, and we're adrift in a world of chain coffee shops and strip malls creeping up from Portland. Enter Evelyn Hargrove, the queen of coastal condescension. She washed up in Whisper Bay 3 summers ago, fresh from Beacon Hill, hubby deceased, and insurance payout burning a hole in her Birkin. Bought the old Captain's Inn up on the bluff, prime view of the bay, where the gulls will like confetti, and immediately set about elevating the village. Book club that doubled as a wine-soaked complaint session. Pop-up art galleries that sold finger paintings for yacht prices. And then, the crown jewel, her dream of turning Wharf Street into Hargraves Haven, an artisanal patisserie with macarons flown in from Paris and prices that'd choke a bluefin tuna. Problem: my bakery sat smack in the middle, the salty soul of the street, drawing folks who wanted real Maine, not faux French. Evelyn's first move was subtle, like a riptide you don't see till it pulls you under. A letter on embossed stationery, delivered by her yappy little Yorkie of an assistant, Miranda 20s, all highlights and hesitation. Dear Mr. Harlow, it read, perfume heavy as regret. As founding chair of the Whisper Bay Heritage Preservation Society, I must inform you that seaside sourdough contravenes our bylaws on aesthetic harmony. Your signage is garish. Your waste bins unsightly. Submit remediation plans within 14 days, or face fines. I blinked at the paper, the ink still tacky, smelling of lilac and entitlement. Heritage Preservation Society. I'd lived here 45 years and never heard of it. Googled it that night over a lukewarm beer on the back stoop, the bay lapping like a guilty conscience. Nada. Zilch. Just Evelyn's glossy website, launched 2 weeks prior, with stock photos of lobster boys and 0 members listed. I chuckled at first, thought it was a prank from the boys at the bait shop. But stakes, oh, they were sky high. That society was her Trojan horse, a sham to bully out undesirables like me, working stiffs with no pedigree. She wanted my spot for her patisserie, valued at 800 grand easy with the waterfront views. Force me out cheap, flip it high, pocket the dip for more pearls. But it wasn't just bricks, it was mom's ghost in the flour sifter, dad's laugh in the creak of the oven door. It was Lila's future college fund tucked in the floor safe, dreams of culinary school in Boston. Evelyn wasn't just after property, she was after our story, rewriting it with her checkbook. Week 1, I ignored the letter. Focused on the bake, the slap of dough on the board, the hiss of steam from the deck oven, the chatter of gulls outside begging for crusts. But Evelyn escalated like a squall line. Tuesday, a fine notice arrives via certified mail, 250 for non-compliant awnings. My awnings faded blue canvas, same as Dad, hung in 72, flapping gently in the breeze, carrying fish market funk and fried clam oil from down the street. I paid it, grumbling 250 was a week's dough sales, but snapped photos, filed the envelope. Wednesday, Miranda parks her Prius out front, clipboard in tow, measuring my porch with a laser gadget like she's NASA. Evelyn says the overhang encroaches on public easement. Encroaches that porch has stood since Eisenhower. I offered her a bear claw, she sniffed and left. By week 3, the harassment hit fever pitch. False complaints flooded the town office, anonymous tips about structural instability, my sagging eave from last winter's snow load, health code violations, a mouse sighting, okay, fine, one field mouse, exiled with humane traps, even noise pollution from my 5 a.m. mixer, which, let's be real, sounds like a polite earthquake compared to the drunks hollering from O'Malley's pub. Each one triggered an inspection. Harbor Master Gus, a red-faced Irishman with a clipboard bigger than his ego, tromping through my kitchen in rubber boots, reeking of chum and chew. Finn, lad, sorry about this, but rules is rules. Fines piled up, 150 here, 300 there. Total pushing $2,000 by month's end. I countered quiet at first, Navy-honed patience from my summers crewing Dad's dory, wait for the wind to shift. Kept a ledger, every notice scanned, every call logged, timestamps like boys marking a wreck. Called my buddy Cal, the town clerk, over for coffee, black as ink, strong as regret. Cal's a lifer, bow tie askew, glasses fogged from the steam. Finn, these complaints all from a 207 number. Hargrove residence. We laughed, but it stung. Community whispers started too, Evelyn at the library book club, cooing about preserving our quaint charm while eyeing my shop like a hawk on a clam. She roped in Miranda and a few summer wives transplants with yoga mats and rescue labs into her society, hosting tea tastings where they'd cluck over my down-market vibe. Humor kept me afloat. One inspection, Gus finds my illegal herb garden out back, basil and thyme in cracked lobster pots, smelling of earth and sea spray. Finn, this contravenes ornamental standards. I grinned, handed him a pesto twist. Gus, if herbs are a crime, lock me up with the clams. He chuckled, but the fine stuck. Tension built like dough proofing overnight, slow, inevitable. Lila S.